Aloha, what's up everybody? Welcome back. Today it's a brand new day. As you can see, it's nice and sunny here in the A. It's not as warm as it was yesterday. I wish it was, because I love warm weather. I'm a warm-blooded person, so I gotta have warm weather to satisfy me, when it comes to being out in the weather, or in the elements basically. Today, well, actually yesterday I was going to do a video of Kenny Veach, which is what I'm going to do today. But yesterday I was trying to do it, but I got caught up on some other stuff, and it didn't happen when I wanted to. I could have easily did the video and sent it, or just waited until today to actually upload it to my channel, but I didn't get a chance to. So here I am, early in the morning, doing my thing so I can get it out to you guys, so you can get a good idea of what's going on. Okay, now yesterday was supposed to be double whammy Fridays, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to read. I'm going to do kind of like a past and present kind of thing with the videos. I'll read a video about something from the past, and I'll read a video about what's going on currently, as far as the book is concerned. I'm going to do a story about Kenny Veach, and throughout the coming weeks I'm going to do stories from Wikipedia about other mysterious disappearances that happened in the past that date all the way back to like 1913 or even further, back to the 1800s. So, but today I'm gonna do a little breakdown on what you guys probably already know as far as what I've been saying on my channel, or what David Paulides has been saying. And the main thing on my channel, or at any given time when it comes to these types of situations, with the vanishings and the mysterious disappearances, is for you to think outside the box. Open your mind to possibilities that normally would seem like they're impossible. I can tell you right now that I don't believe in the impossible. I believe that anything is possible because of the stuff that people have seen, with their very own eyes. Pilots who have seen UFOs flying, and there was a story that Tyler talked about today about a guy named Steve who put up a video called Tuforce. That's TUFORC. It was shut down. Well, he had to shut it down because somebody ratted him out, because he was an aviation pilot and he worked alongside planes too. They shut him down due to him doing a lot of YouTube videos on UFOs and all that stuff. And how aviation, for some reason, they frown on that, and they will literally shut you down as well as fire you and block you from the rest of the world as far as getting a job if you were to go forth with any other information. That's why when a lot of pilots see stuff like that, they don't ever repeat it, let alone report it into the FAA. But yeah, so that's why I say you gotta open your mind to a lot of possibilities. Things that you would normally think is impossible, or just isn't real, or can't happen. That's only because that's what you think. That doesn't mean that's what you know. Okay, so I always keep an open mind and think outside the box, because when you think outside the box, you just might solve the mystery. Okay, it may start out as a theory. And a lot of people, like I said in my last video, that theories are the facts, if you ask me. The problem is having the proof to back up that theory, which is really the fact. Okay, but sometimes evidence or the facts, well, I was more like proof. You don't really need the proof. All you need is what you see and what you hear. Okay, that saying, seeing is believing. That's very true. Sometimes believing is seeing. You got to believe in something in order for you to see it as well. It unblocks that wall that you have in front of you that keeps you from seeing stuff that you normally would think is crazy, right? So that's my take on that. Now, also, as you can tell, that these people are not disappearing in a normal way. Okay, you got people who do their everyday thing. You know, they're avid hikers or joggers. They know the terrain and the area very well. They know where to jog, they know where to hike, and they know how to do it. You know, we're talking about people that have probably been doing it since they were teenagers with their father. Okay, but these same people, the experts, are the ones that seem to be the ones that is disappearing. People who have a high intelligence are the ones that's normally disappearing. Whether you're in college or if you're just someone that just has a very high level background in education. Okay, you got astrophysicists, you got doctors, physicians, and just people who are experts in their craft, like hiking or camping, or whatever have you. Anyone that is a huge lover of nature, those are the main ones that are being taken. And they are taken in very strange ways. Because this is what I believe. We have been monitored and watched by these entities or beings or whatever you want to call them for thousands of years. Okay, I'm pretty sure these beings or entities have actually walked this earth way before humans, came about. I can guarantee it. So they know more about this planet than we do. So when we start walking around and doing stuff, they look at us, they monitor us, they see how we are, they get into our heads, they see how we think. And sometimes all they have to do is just watch us to see how we think and what we would do if this happened, or what would we do if that happened, or will they be able to figure it out, which they know that we won't, because of the way we think and the way we are and what we believe in. So they take people in the strangest way, knowing that we will never be able to figure out how they did it or who did it. Think about it. You got a person that is in a group, okay? They're walking in a straight line. That person in the back, all of a sudden, poof, they're gone. You got your eyes focused ahead of you, even though that person is right beside you. All of a sudden, they fall behind. Maybe they probably stopped to tie their shoe, or they probably was trying to catch their breath, or they may have seen something in the trees that caught their eye. And that would be the main way they could take that person. And they take them within a snap. And then when they realize that they're gone, it's probably like maybe 15 minutes later. They be like, oh snap, I didn't see him when he walked off the trail, or whatever the case may be. So they start calling their name, they look for him, they do all these things, and none of that, and they can't find him. I'd say about 50 some odd days later, they're found in an area that is inaccessible to everyone else. Like, you may see a lot of like twigs or tree branches or thorns, all in this one huge area. Or it could be a box cane or a ravine, and you see the body 100 feet out from where they were last seen. How did they get there in the first place? Teleportation? Or they phased them through the area? How did they even carry them to get to that point? Did they levitate them off the ground and move them to an area and then place them in that one spot? There were stories about a person who was put underneath a thorn bush. Now, would a person just crawl under a thorn bush knowing it's going to get prickled by all those thorns? I doubt that. I would think that they were phased through the thorn bush and placed there. That's my interpretation on the whole deal. Now, the ones that are disappearing in national parks. People that are disappearing in national parks actually disappear more often than the people in urban areas, and they disappear into different areas. The national parks and the national forests. All that stuff is just one big conglomerate. But still, it's very strange. And they disappear in weird ways too. Some people go in there by themselves and they do their camping, they do their jog, or they can go there with a group. They say, "Well, I gotta go take a piss." They go out into the woods and they never come back. They start looking. They're looking for them. They know the trail that they're supposed to be on. They're not on the trail. They get back to the area where they supposed to have met up at, like say back at the campsite. They said they never returned. They only saw them leave. So somewhere between that point and where they should have been, they were never found. Let's just say they were supposed to go on in a straight line, but yet they weren't within that straight line. So they split off in two directions in a T section. They searched this area, nothing here. They searched that area, nothing there. They probably even crossed it and went in that direction. They weren't in any of those directions. Now, you search those areas 10 times, 20 times, 50 times. They're not there. The 51st time, they're there. Every time. And when you do find them, they're half naked with nothing but their shoes or socks on and their underwear. Now, there was a story about a young man who was found dead with nothing but his shoes, which were tied along with his socks on, and his boxers. Now, what person do you know, criminal, of course, what criminal do you know would take the time or have enough time to actually take the pants off? I mean, take the shoes off, take the socks off. You know, you got to untie the shoes, take the socks off, take the pants off, and put the shoes back on. Put the socks back on, put the shoes back on, and tie them up. You think they're going to take enough time to do that? I don't think so. So I'm thinking that somehow, some way, the pants were phased through the body and were pulled off that way. Because they never found the pants. I think they did find the pants, but I think the pants were like a couple of miles down the river. Because I think they said either the body was floating down the river or they found the pants down the river on an embankment, I think. But it was just the fact that he didn't have any on at all. And how did they get them off in the first place? Okay, I know they didn't try to pull them off with the shoes still on because it couldn't be done. Trust me, I've tried. It doesn't work. Okay. Now, some of the people are found, of course, without their clothing or their shoes, especially boots. Boots are one of the main things that is very strange because the shoes aren't just not on the feet, but they're taken. Now, some of them are, well, not so much the shoes are taken, the boots are taken. The boots are left there sometimes, or sometimes they are taken because, first of all, leather work boots can be in the elements for years because leather doesn't deteriorate like that. But the boots be missing. Why would they? Because, why would you want to take the boots? It just doesn't make any sense. Okay. Some are found in areas inaccessible, to others. Like I said earlier, that's a crazy fact because it doesn't make any sense for them to be. So they're supposed to be in one spot, they're not there, and then they're found days later, sometimes weeks later, in an area that was inaccessible for them to even get to in the first place. So obviously somebody or something carried them there in a means that they didn't have to touch them. So I'm thinking teleportation or phasing or dematerializing, and they materialize elsewhere. Just like the story I talked to you about the young man who just disappeared before a person's eyes. They were falling and disappeared before they hit the ground. And the same thing with that Warson guy I told you about. In the story, he was falling and he let out a feeble cry, and right before he hit the ground, he vanished. So he actually must have seen something. If that, even though they say it's a story, but he had to have gotten that story from somewhere. I'm not saying he couldn't have made it up, but I'm just saying he obviously saw a never-ending void that he couldn't get away from, and he just fell right into it. I don't know. Okay. People in groups, like I mentioned before, are found. Are the ones that disappear. The ones that be behind the group and the ones that be ahead of the group. They get ahead of them for some reason. They say they'll meet them up in a certain area, and when they get to that area, they're gone and they're never found. Or if they are found, they're found days later somewhere else, hundreds of miles away from where they were last seen. The ones, like I said, that fall behind, they're taken as well. Let's see. Now, this is the way I see it. These people, or beings, or whatever you want to call them, like I said before, they've been watching us for years. Okay? For thousands of years. They know how we think. And they know what we believe. and don't believe. They know that because of that, what they can come up with as far as how they can take somebody and kill them without leaving any evidence behind it whatsoever. They know they can get away with it because they know us better than we know ourselves. Okay? Because if they knew that we would figure it out sooner or later, they probably wouldn't do it. Or they would change it up every single time. So they do things in sporadic patterns, but they do it the same way every single time. They create a pattern to get you so confused that the only thing you can really say is that my son or daughter or whoever else was kidnapped or abducted. They never say by who, because they don't know who. But if you look at the facts and look at the patterns and look at the crimes that are committed by certain people, none of these crimes fit how these people are being killed. Not one. So think about it. That means humans are not doing this. And if it is a human, it is a human that is not of this plane or of this dimension or of this earth. It may come from a parallel earth where all the things that they can do is reality where they come from. I'm just saying. But anyway, I want to get to the topic at hand here, which is about Kenny Veach. I'm going to start off the way I was trying to start off yesterday, but of course, like I said, I didn't have the time. Okay. Now, of course, like I said, this is about Kenny Veach. That's Veach. All right. In 2014, an avid and experienced hiker by the name of Kenny Veach started commenting on the popular video site YouTube that he had found a mysterious cave cloaked in oddity out in the Nevada desert in the Sheep Mountains, located within the Desert National Wildlife Refuge north of Las Vegas, near Nellis Air Force Base. In the comment, the 47-year-old Veach claims that the cave entrance was rather oddly shaped like the letter M, and that a variety of strange sensations have overcome him as he had approached. He claimed that that as he had drawn closer to the enigmatic cave, his body had been beset by powerful vibrations that pulsated and emanated from an unknown source to shake him to the core. Vibrations engulfed his body and only got stronger and more unbearable the closer he got to the cave. Although he wished to continue and see what lay down in the darkness, at some point he began to fear for his life, and sensing that there were forces here beyond what he could understand. He had made a hasty retreat away from the ominous gash in the ground and all of its strangeness. Okay, the comment generated an immense amount of interest in the enigmatic cave, as well as its fair share of debate, with many skeptics demanding proof of the whole ordeal. A lot of commenters began replying that a follow-up expedition was in order to what was becoming known as the M Cave. See, okay, this is where I have a problem with, because people were pushing the issue for him to go back to the cave. Now, think about this. A lot of people tend to disappear under crazy circumstances because one minute they're fine, and all of a sudden they keep saying like, "Oh, I don't feel so well, so I'm gonna go," and then they end up walking home every single time. They don't wait for a person to drive them home; they walk home, and they could be miles away from where they live. Okay. Now, in his case, I'm thinking that somehow, some way, this entity or entities can get into the mindset of people and make them do or say things that they normally wouldn't say. And it would feel so natural, they wouldn't even realize that they're being puppeted by some unknown, unseen entity. So you get all these people that are being controlled by this force or entity, and they get them to say things like, "Go ahead and do it. We want to get, we want to see, we want you to go find a cave again so we can see if that's really happening." And da 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 da. These entities are making these people say that, and it causes him to go back to the cave so they can take him in a manner that'll make people say, "Okay, he just vanished, but off the face of the earth. There was no trace of him found." That's my take on the ordeal, you know, because if you think about how these other people are being taken, they always say they're tired or they're not feeling well, and they say that all the time. Every person that has been taken has said that. You know, there are some that haven't, but it's just they still disappear under weird circumstances. Okay. And for his part, Kenny said that this is exactly what he planned to do once he was properly prepared and equipped. He now see, this is another thing. People who are properly prepared and equipped, those are still the ones that get taken, unless, from what David Paulides has said, you have a personal locator transponder, okay, and a gun and a sat phone. That way that signal can be pinged off of a satellite. That way they'll find you within 8 minutes tops. And the same thing with the personal locator transponder. It will be pinged off of a satellite, and they'll find you that way as well. Well, not so much. Okay, not the sat phone. But the sat phone, you can call anybody from anywhere in the wilderness, you know, because of the satellite. Okay, that's what I meant to say. Okay. Let's see. He would eventually venture out once again into the rugged Nevada Badlands with a camera to record his exploits and any evidence he came across. But on this second trip, he was unable to relocate the cave. Now, see, for someone that's an avid hiker, I would think you would know the trail. You would know how to get from point to point. I would think that you would know how to get back to a certain point that you're trying to locate, or a certain spot. But in his case, he couldn't find it. So I don't know, maybe he was disoriented to the point where he just forgot where it was, or he got confused, or he got lost, or whatever the case may be. And that seems to be a lot of that seems to be what happens with a lot of people. They get disoriented, maybe due to this energy that flows around, like what happened with him, or the vibrations may cause him to get a little confused. Or maybe, just maybe, that cave, or weird looking cave that was shaped like an M, was placed there by these entities. Because think about it, how was that a weird looking cave that was shaped like an M, or the opening? How is that possible? How does a natural formation form itself into an M? I never could understand that. So maybe that was just placed there, and when he left, the place disappeared. Now, there's also been a lot of cases like that, like Shangri-La. They say Shangri-La is some sort of mystical valley that can only be seen when it wants to be seen. It appears and reappears, you know, by chance. Okay, there's also even talk about, and I've seen it too, it's a video that was aired on Secure Team by Tyler about this like floating city that appears above China all the time. And it literally is an actual video of a city. You can see high rises sitting on top of a thick cloud and just hovering in the sky, you know. And it appeared twice, and I think it appeared another time. Well, it appeared twice in China, and it appeared another time in another area, in another state or country. I'm not sure exactly which one, but I'd have to find that video again. But like I said, it might have been placed there for him to find at that moment in time. So when he left and came back, it was gone. And just like, you know, other cases like the North Pole in Santa Claus's workshop, they say it can only be seen by certain people who believe in Christmas. So you out there in the North Pole, you don't never see it, but if you believe, it will appear to you right up under the North Star. Okay, so is that a fact? I don't know. I've never been to the North Pole. I'm not saying I do believe in Santa Claus. I'm not saying that I don't, but I do believe in the spirit of Christmas. So I would think that Santa Claus is the spirit of Christmas, and his workshop may be real in a spiritual sense. Maybe, I don't know, but I'm just saying. But anyway, gotta unlock my phone again. Okay, all right, here we go. Let's see. Exploits came across, but on the second two. Okay. He uploaded the video of his expedition, which only further generated interest in the mysterious cave. Encountering that cave seemed to be quite a big deal for him, a frightening, life-changing experience. And he posted before his excursion. It says here, I believe this is probably what he wrote, in the comments. Okay, the region that I cover is vast. There are many caves. I have been in hundreds of them. The M cave is the only cave I ever feared. I dare any of the people that like to run their miles on here to join me. Okay, so he was calling people out, and I don't think they ever got that far, because when they found out that he disappeared that same day, they said, "Oh yeah, I'm not going out there." So okay, now the only thing okay, wait a minute. They say import, but I think they mean importance, so there's probably a typo. Okay, the only thing of importance he reported on during this second trip was the presence of a mysterious black ram, which he said had intently watched him from atop a ridge. Now that's weird. Some unknown looking black ram that was just staring at him from on the top of a ridge. That's crazy. So it could have been a spirit that was in the form of a ram, and a black ram at that. Who knows? Because certain entities and spirits can take the form of anything if they wanted to, and apparently they wanted to take the form of a black ram that was staring down at him from the top of a ridge. Okay. None of the okay. Okay. None of this deterred. Let me see. Let me make sure I get my place right. Okay. None of this deterred the determined Veach, who was by many of those who knew him described as an avid, hopeless adrenaline junkie, and intrepid, fearless adventurer who was an experienced hiker and outdoorsman. Veach described himself as a daredevil and a cowboy, and he often showed this side of himself with pictures of himself in intimidating, treacherous terrain, or holding wild rattlesnakes he had come across. Despite the influx of concern and warning, he immediately proposed that he meant to make a third foray into the wilderness, refusing to give up on finding the strange cave or be discouraged by the remote, forbidding landscape, and this time armed with a gun. See, that's what I'm talking about right there. And that's basically just for protection, but at the same time, that's what David Paulides said. Make sure you always carry a gun with you, no matter what, because you never know. You may end up with cave robbers, or claim robbers or whatever. If you, let's just say there may be some gold or silver in that cave. You never know, or maybe some crystal. But I'll get to that part in a second, because it has a lot to do with these caves as well. Okay, he posted, "I will have my 9mm with me this time, just in case. It's a 10-hour hike, no trails. Very dangerous terrain. Okay, now this right here is a picture of him on that terrain. See that? That's him. That's Kenny Veach out there. And you see all the those little like basketball, or basketball sized boulders and rocks and stuff. And look at the boulder he's sitting on. And see, that's another thing about people that vanish without a trace. There are always boulders involved, or in the surrounding evidence of the cases. Every time someone disappears, there's a boulder involved at some point, and they're always in areas where there is boulder fields, and it looks like this is nothing but rock. It's got some grass in here too, but you see mountains in the background. You see that big ass boulder he's sitting on, and that plays a part in a lot of these cases, So the fact that you see all these little small increments in the evidence, like scenery and what's in the area where they disappeared at, is always in a place where there's boulders. Why is that? I don't know. They always talk about how these like entities or spirits live inside the boulders, so I don't know, but that's in like I think not Alaska but Ireland, so I'm just saying. But anyway, okay, get back on track here. Some other commenters strongly warned against it, with some pleading that he not go back because he would likely never return, and calling it fool. They probably meant to say fully, but they said Foley. They pronounce it. They spelled it Folly. There seemed to be an air of dread that the cave was nothing but trouble, a hungry presence, and if it did indeed exist, was perhaps a place that he was not meant to return from, perhaps even calling out to him for a final embrace. None of this stopped the intrepid Veach, who was dead set on once again finding the mysterious cave and perhaps gleaning some understanding of it. On November 10th, 2014, Kenny Veach headed out into the harsh desert on his third journey out to the cave on what was meant to be a 2-day hike. He would never return. After his scheduled return came and went, and Veach's family and friends became increasingly concerned, an intensive air and ground search was launched by authorities and and volunteers to scour the area. During the search efforts, the only sign of Kenny Veach that was turned up was his cell phone, which was found lying on the ground near an old vertical mine shaft, with no other trails leading out into the wilderness. Let's see. Okay, it was assumed at the time that perhaps Veach had fallen into the mine, but when mine experts were brought in and took a look down in its depths, no sign of the missing hiker could be found. Indeed, exhaustive combining of the area, combing of the area, turned up not a single further clue of where Veach had gone, or if he had even ever been there at all. It was as if he had just vanished into thin air. He has not been seen since. Of course, which such a mysterious disappearance, and especially with all of the talk of the enigmatic M cave that had been going on, and him vowing to find it, which had led to his vanishing, there was immediately rampant speculation on what had become of Kenny Veach, ranging from the rational to the far out. Perhaps the most likely is that he simply met with one of the many hazards inherent to the terrain he was in. Hazardous footing and the sheer remoteness, wild animals, and dehydration were all very real threats facing the hiker. And things were not helping by the fact that he had been rather well known for being risky and careless to the point of being foolhardy. He was known to engage on difficult hikes into inhospitable landscapes with only the barest of supplies, and would then push himself to the limit, as if in constant need to raise the challenge. One comment he posted on YouTube attests to this, in which he wrote, "My hikes are brutal on the body. After one of my long hikes, some of my toenails turned black, and fell off." That's weird. Okay. It takes me about 3 days to recover from the abuse of to the abuse I put myself through. So he does this on purpose. And thrill seekers, they often do that. They want to test themselves, push themselves to the limit to see how far they can take it, or how much they can take. And see, this is another picture of Kenny Veach out there in the wilderness doing his thing, trying to show the world that he is capable of doing what he does. Sorry for the glare, folks. He's got a lot of sunlight here. You can see everything else in the background. But yeah, that's him. That's him out there, toughing the wild. Okay, this is pretty long one here. It goes down pretty far. Okay, I'm gonna still read the rest of it though. I'm gonna try and get as much of it in as I possibly can. Okay. In other words, his hikes were hardcore, maybe too hardcore for his own good. Perhaps his luck had finally run out on this hike, and his body just never found. Another rather plausible possibility is that he went out into the desert wilds with no intention of ever coming back. According to Veach's girlfriend, Sharon Pilgrim, he had come from a family with a history of depression, which he had apparently not been unscathed by. Let's see. She explained that Kenny had been plagued by depression for years, but had always refused to see a doctor or take any medication for it. One haunting comment made by Pilgrim was, seeing his depression increase, I said to him, you aren't going to pull a Robin Williams on me, are you? This is when he opened up more about his depression and his thoughts much of his life about suicide. Wow. He asked me what I would think of him if he had did it. He also said if he decided to do it, no one will ever find me. Huh. Wow. That is very, very unsettling to even know. I mean, it goes on and on and on, but pretty much that's the premise of the entire story about him. Obviously, there was some level of depression in his family as well, and in him as well. So for him to say something like that, I can kind of get why he disappeared. But at the same time, for him to say that they would never find him, he obviously knew where to go and what to do in order for him to commit suicide, and know that where he went to commit suicide, they would never find him. I still find that hard to believe, because I would think that this entity was feeding off of that fact. This entity already knew that Kenny Veach was suicidal or thought about suicide. So knowing that that was going to be put out there, knowing that he had some level of suicide tendencies in him. They knew that they could take him at any moment, you know, take him to another dimension or wherever it is they take these people when they never come back, and it will be looked at as a suicide. So therefore there will be no more looking into his case. Therefore it will be just that, suicide, because in other places they say accidental drowning or death by intoxication or hypothermia. With his case, it could be anything from dehydration, or he died out there because he ran out of supplies. Okay, he died of starvation, or he died of heat stroke, because they say once you reach a level of heat stroke where it'll kill you, your blood turns to like a grainy substance because you have no moisture in your body. It dries out, so therefore you die. But still, where is the body? Okay, that's the whole point. If you die out there, you're gonna find your remains out there because the vulture's gonna be picking at your body, as well as the other animals that may be out there, all the wildlife, maybe some mountain lions, or even that black ram that was out there watching him from up above on that peak. Okay, but at the same time, if he went somewhere within that cave to commit suicide, at some point they still would have found some bones. It just depends on where. I guess he probably figured that no one would want to make that trek out there to find him or go into that cave, because if he said that it was an ominous cave and it had some energies flowing from it that made his body tremble and made him just like scared from head to toe, where he had to just leave, by him saying that made people not want to go out there. So it was all played out the way these entities wanted it to play out. It was like a domino effect. Okay, you start here with what you're gonna do, then you look at every other domino to see which one could benefit you in taking this person. So he starts, boom, and then it just falls down one by one in a line. Okay, and then at the very end you have skepticism. That one domino at the very end is skepticism, fear, and disbelief. You got all this stuff piled up onto that one domino, and that's the crucial point in their success. They know people are not going to believe anything other than the fact that he committed suicide, or the fact that he obviously succumbed to the elements and probably died of heat stroke, or whatever the case may be, or dehydration. But the body would be out there. Even if the wildlife dragged him to a certain part, his remains would still be out there. But they're not. They can't find him at all. His gear is missing. All this stuff is gone. So for him to say that they would never find him, that's his depression talking. But also I'm thinking it could be the entity making him say that, so that way they'll know that he's going to commit suicide. Therefore they won't try to figure out what did this. I don't know, but that's my take on it. That's the way I feel about it. There's still a lot of unexplained variables in his story, because the man basically disappeared without a trace, and that cave had a lot to do with it. It was emitting these strange energies that was making him feel feared of his own life. Okay, maybe fear itself is an entity, or it's an energy combined with it, or the energy. How can I put this? Fear has always been known to be a construct, manifestation of our own self. Okay, but I'm thinking that fear goes way beyond that. I think fear is also an entity of certain circumstances. It's an entity that can promote fear in people. It can promote its own, and it could be, fear alone could be an energy as well, because we feel it. We feel fear, right? So obviously the fear comes from something, but we don't know what it comes from. Maybe when, like I told you about this jogger that felt something near him. He went to a certain area and he knew something was watching him, but he couldn't see it. But he just felt ultimate evil, and he had to get out of there, and he could still feel it behind him. So whatever that thing was, it was massive, and it was following him. The element of fear propelled outward from whatever that thing was, and he could still feel it behind him until he got to a certain point, and then he didn't feel it no more. So I'm thinking fear alone is caused by a certain type of entity that can promote fear or use fear as an energy to where you will feel it. It's very crazy, but I'm just saying that could be what it could be. It could be what it is. And I think that's what he was feeling when he went into that cave. And the fact that he found a cave that was shaped, that cave entrance that's shaped like an M, that's just odd. I've never heard of a natural, like a natural piece of rock or whatever, just something that was grown naturally by the earth. I've never heard of one being formed into an M. So it was put there for a reason. It was put there for a reason, I think, because when he went back and couldn't find it, obviously it was because the cave wasn't there anymore. I would think by him being an avid hiker, he would be able to find it, especially if he knew the wilderness very well and knew that trail very well as well. He knew that whole area like back of his hand because he hiked out there all the time, so he knew where it was. He just couldn't find it. Obviously, it wasn't there when he came back. So that's, I don't know, but I'll leave that up for you guys to decide. You know what to do. If you like this video, you like and subscribe. Hit me with a thumbs up and click on that bell down there so you can get my notification that I made another video. And for you, KimStar66, I told you I was going to do it, so I'm doing this for you and the rest of my fans out there. And I just want to really thank all of my fans and all my viewers and subscribers for getting me to a point where I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers. And I want to go even further, and I want to get to 500, 1,000, 1,000,000, just like all the other people I see on YouTube. And I can't do that with you guys, without you guys. Okay, I really appreciate you guys. I love you, and I'm here for you guys. If you want to know about the mysterious, come here. If you got an open mind, come to this channel. If you got an open mind, come to this channel. If you like to think outside the box, help me help these people. Not so much the people who are disappearing, but help me help people who want to find out what's going on. If you got any crazy ideas, any crazy theories, hit me up in the comment section below, and we can go over some stuff. We can just chat. We can go back and forth with it, about stuff. I will definitely hear it, and I'll post it in my next video about what you guys think could be happening. Now, I'll be honest, I don't really talk about this because I don't like negativity, but I have gotten some negative comments from people where they're saying that you must be very uneducated or very young and this and that, so you don't know what you're talking about. One person just blew up in my face talking about, you don't know what you're talking about. It was this, it was that. I'm not going to mention the person name because that's not what I do. I'm not going to put you on blast like that, but I can just tell you that I have gotten some negative comments, and I have heard a lot about that, where people who try to put the word out there about things that are mysterious and things that don't want to be talked about, you get a lot of negative feedback and a lot of backlash from people who either don't believe in what you're talking about, or it could be the government just hitting you up trying to discredit you. Okay, but that's still not going to stop me. Tell you that right now, because the people need to know. The Park Service need to man up and do what they're supposed to do, especially when you got families who are losing their children in your park, but yet you don't want to tell them what's really going on. I don't care, like I said before, I don't care how ominous the evidence may seem. I don't care if it's something creepy. I still want to know. And if I have to find it on my own with my own theories, I will do that. Because if I mention something that let's say if you already know what it is, and I mention something that is very close to what may have happened to my child, and you straighten up, you be like, okay, that might be what it is then. So why can't you tell me? I'm just saying. But anyway, guys, that is my time. I enjoyed making this video for you guys, and I hope you watch it and hit me with that thumbs up, and like and subscribe. Comment below, do whatever you need to do. Just keep it coming. Tell your friends about me, subscribe to my channel, and I can guarantee you get the best of all the creepy stuff, all this creepy shit that I talk about. Okay, so without further ado, I gotta go, and I will be returning probably later on today, and I'll post another video about something else on Wikipedia about mysterious disappearances. So because I'm off today, so I'll have enough time to create more videos. Maybe I don't know how many I'm going to put in, I'm going to post, but it may be more than 2 probably if I fill up to it, and if I don't end up being busy at the end of the day. But I will surely get back with you guys with some more videos. And so stay tuned, keep your eyes peeled, keep your ears open to listen out for my notifications. All right, guys. And you know how I do it. You know how I do it at the end of every post. Aloha, mahalo, and ahui ho. Peace out, guys. Be safe. Be blessed. I love you.